Hey guys, welcome back. Not gonna lie, we're gonna talk about a weird passage today, just some weird stuff. And yet, even in weird stuff, we can see the hand of God and the blessing that only God can bring. Listen in today.
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hey friends, hoping you're having a good day today and that you are well on the way to doing something for the Lord. Appreciate you joining in for the podcast. I know that many of you listen on your way to work or as you're getting ready in the morning. Some of you are binge listening because you don't listen every day. But however you're consuming this podcast today, thank you. Thanks for listening in and for loving the Bible. We are in Genesis 30 today, and Jacob has made a request. He has requested of his father-in-law to be able to be released from his job, released of his responsibility in the family, to go home. He's never intended to stay in Syria. Remember, the whole purpose for leaving was to, well, I think twofold, to get away from the evil intentions of Esau, but to find a bride and make sure that he's not marrying one of the Canaanite women that his brother Esau has married. In fact, several. So now Jacob is ready to go home. It's been years. He has 2 wives and 2 concubines. Again, that's not something that's God ordained, but it's just the raw truth of what happened. He has 12 children. He has 11 sons and 1 daughter. And now he is requesting of Laban to go. Let's settle up. I've worked for you. A part of what I've earned is the right to your daughters, the dowry, if you will. But I've worked beyond that, and so I ought to receive wages. And many times the way that wages were settled up after there was separation was he would receive a certain percentage of the livestock. So that just makes sense in an agricultural and livestock business. And watch what it says in verse number 31. And he said, "What shall I give thee?" So still talking about a compensation, severance package in verse 31. "What shall I give thee?" And Jacob said, "Thou shalt not give me anything if thou wilt do this thing for me." So I'm not asking for a set amount of wages. I'm not asking for a set number. I'm going to give you a criterion. And based upon that criterion, if it's acceptable to you, that's what I want. So if thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come to pass for my hire before thy face, everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and the brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. Okay, so you see what Jacob's saying? So Jacob's saying 2 things. Number 1, okay, I will stay. I will stay for a while. But here's the deal. I get all of the weirdly colored livestock, the sheep and the goats. If they are striped or if they have spots on them, or if they're grayish or brown, then I'll get it. Because back in those days, most of the animals would be plain colored, black or white. So the fact that he's saying, I'll take the off-colored ones is really magnanimous, that I will take the ones that, I'll take the minority of them. And that way, that's something out of your control, Laban. That's something out of my control. It'll be a way for us to see, how is God blessing? Well, what is God doing? And I'm willing to do that. Would you be willing to agree to that deal? Verse number 34, and Laban said, "Behold, I would it might be according to thy word." In other words, you got a deal, buddy. That is a really good idea, because I'm sure Laban's thinking, Really? Wow. I mean, that is more than I could have expected. I mean, think about it. Jacob deserves a huge portion because were it not for Jacob, Laban would still have that small family business. But now, as we have seen on yesterday's podcast, it has become exponentially big. And both Laban and Jacob know that the reason why it's big is because of God's blessing on Jacob. So Laban knows that, Jacob knows that, and yet Jacob is still being humble. It reminds me of his grandfather Abraham, when Abraham said to Lot, you choose whatever you want. You take whatever fields you want. And remember, Lot chose the good fields, the well-watered plains. And Abraham didn't have to do that. By rights, it was his land. And I see the same kind of spirit here in Jacob. Verse number 35, and he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked, and spotted all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them unto the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. So he separated out all these animals. Now, don't think for a moment that what Laban was doing is, these all belong to you. No, what he's doing is he's taking them away so that they can't breed, because he doesn't want them to be bred so that there are more of these striped and spotted animals. He wants to make sure that all of the breeding is done only with the animals that will bring forth the color that he wants. So what's Laban doing here? Laban is technically allowed to do this because the sheep belong to him, the goats belong to him, but this is nefarious, what he's doing, because he's trying to manipulate the deal in a way where he is going to receive more of the goats and the sheep. Verse number 37, and Jacob took him rods of green poplar. Now, this is the weird part. I just want you to follow it. Verse 37, so Jacob took him rods of green poplar and hazel and chestnut tree. He pillowed white strakes in them. So you know how you rip off part of the bark, and he's creating like a striped rod out of these branches. And he pillowed white strakes in them and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had pilled before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. So you say, this is an old wives' fable. I mean, and this was a custom back in the day, that somehow if you put these rods in, this was going to promote conception, and it was crazy. It's an old wives' fable. And you're thinking, really? This sounds almost like a magical hocus pocus thing that Jacob's doing here. Well, understand that we're going to find out next chapter that this had nothing to do. That now this might have been something that even Jacob believed superstitiously, but it doesn't matter, because what the Bible makes clear is that this was God's doing. God was leading, giving Jacob a dream, giving him instructions about what to do so that God would defend Jacob's business deal, that God would give him more sheep that were speckled and striped, and God would basically turn the counsel of Laban upside down, that God would do the defending. That's the point. So look at verse 39, and the flocks conceived before the rods and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. So what's the point? The point is that God is defending Jacob. And even though Laban is using his power and his authority to try to cheat Jacob out of what should be rightfully his, God is defending. And it says in verse 40, and Jacob did separate the lambs. He set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straked, all the brown in the flock of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacobs. So this whole system, as I know it's a bit confusing, but this whole system really accrued to Jacob's favor. And Jacob ended up having more and stronger livestock than Laban, who is trying to cheat Jacob out of both the number of livestock and the strength of livestock. In other words, God is turning this thing upside down. God is defending. And it says in verse number 42, and when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. The feebler were Laban's, the stronger Jacob's, and the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, camels, and donkeys. So, wow, just giving it to the Lord, allowing God to defend him, being faithful, giving the credit to God, not answering evil for evil or railing for railing. When he was receiving evil, doing good. These are great New Testament principles. Romans chapter 12, 1 Peter chapter 3, and God is doing what only God can do. I wonder what it is in your life where you feel like, man, I'm being cheated. People are doing me wrong. We had a deal. I'm just trying to be faithful. I'm working hard. Just know this, there is a God in heaven, and God sees and God knows. We can trust him. And that's what Jacob does. And we're going to see an exciting little commentary in the next chapter about this chapter, where God just gives us a little bit of insight as to the fact that he knew what was happening and God was working in ways that you and I simply could not have worked. So we serve a great God, don't we? We'll stop there at the end of chapter 30, and we will enter a brand new chapter next episode. Until then, I hope you have a great day. God bless you, my friends.